Is it true that the South argued that they cared more about blacks than the North because they provided food, water, shelter, healthcare, etc. to slaves, whereas the North just wanted to free them and didn't care about the consequences of freeing people who were so used to dependence?
The idea that the South cared more for slaves than the North is a myth and a distorted view of history. The reality is that slavery was a brutal, inhumane system that treated people as property and denied them basic human rights. While it's true that some slave owners may have provided food, shelter, and healthcare to their slaves, this was not out of concern for their well-being, but rather as a way to maintain their value as property. Furthermore, conditions on southern plantations were often harsh, and slaves were subjected to physical and sexual abuse, torture, and separation from their families. The notion that the South was more benevolent towards slaves than the North is simply not accurate and ignores the reality of the institution of slavery.
Yeah, not saying they provided those benefits out of the goodness of their hearts, but rather the South believed they at least offered to provide for slaves, whereas Northerners made no said promise.
The argument that the South cared more for the welfare of enslaved people than the North is a controversial one and is not widely accepted by historians. Some slaveholders may have provided basic necessities to enslaved people. This did not equate to genuine concern for their well-being. Slavery was an inhumane institution that treated people as property, and the notion that the South cared more for enslaved people is not supported by the historical record. The North may not have made a formal promise to care for enslaved people, but the Union's efforts to abolish slavery and the Emancipation Proclamation demonstrate a clear commitment to ending the institution of slavery and granting freedom to enslaved people.